here we are at the Mansion House in this beautiful building, which dates back to 1860. Yet I feel I'm in tropical land with all of these palm trees. And we're here to meet the Mayor, Lord Mayor of the City and County of Swansea, Councillor Mike Day.
Hello Mike, lovely to welcome you.
Nice to see you.
And a beautiful afternoon.
It is fantastic, and what a wonderful setting this is.
It is, and you know, clearly years ago when this was built, the trees weren't so mature, shall we say, and they had a lovely view over the bay. So a very wonderful location, and a great place for a family home, as it was when it was first built. And as I mentioned, of 1922 when the council bought it as a mansion house. So this is obviously a recent addition in terms of the decking, but most of the original features still exist, and maybe we can go in and have a look at some of those, shall we?
And did you say you had some Ukrainian?
Yes, we had some Ukrainian families here who performed some national dances and songs for us.
Right.
And it was on a day like today, and it's quite a moving experience for us actually, because they were sharing some of their stories about how the war had affected them, both in terms of the destruction of their homes, but also the fact that they had to come here. But it was pleasing to hear that they felt welcomed in Swansea, and the way in which people had received them and did what they could to make them feel settled was very, very important for them.
Great. Let's
come in.
Hi, it's Mike Leahy, Swan TV, and I am delighted to be here in the Mansion House in Swansea. I'm with Councillor Mike Day, who is the Lord Mayor of the City and County of Swansea, and we're going to talk about the Mansion House and the role of Mayor. Mike, it's really great to be here with you, sitting here in the sun.
Yeah, it's lovely to be able to enjoy the sunshine, isn't it? And thank you for coming along today.
So tell us about the role of Lord Mayor, really, and your year.
Yeah, yes, I mean, it's an amazing role. Unlike many other authorities, the City and County of Swansea have decided that the role of Lord Mayor would be based upon length of service as a councillor. So the longer serving councillors then get the opportunity of becoming Lord Mayor. As an aside, that's why you don't get any young Lord Mayors in Swansea. So I've had the privilege of serving the community of Swansea for 24 years, and then being able to take on this particular role. The role is very much of a ceremonial one. The way in which I would describe it is being like an ambassador, emphasising the great things to the outside world of Swansea, and also internally, as it were, talking to people in Swansea and saying what a wonderful job they are doing. There are so many people who are volunteering in different aspects of life, and it's important, I think, for them to be thanked and rewarded, if not financially, at least by having the opportunity of hearing from the first citizen of Swansea, as the Lord Mayor is, how much their work is appreciated, not just by the people who are in receipt of their services, but also by the City and County of Swansea itself. It's such an important aspect and feature of our everyday life. As far as the year is concerned, it's been a wonderful privilege, Mike. It's been amazing to experience the range of activities. And I was reflecting earlier on about the fact that some people have asked me, so what's been the highlight of the year? And I can't say that there's one particular event or one particular meeting or one particular organisation that I've met, because they've all been so wonderful in themselves. I think the overall highlight for me is how welcoming and respectful people are of the role of Lord Mayor. And I think it's something that we mustn't take for granted. The fact that this particular office is one which does represent the whole of the City and County of Swansea. So I've been delighted, and my wife has been delighted as well, to share so many wonderful experiences with people, being able to go around and see different groups, but all with this common theme of serving the community.
You've obviously enjoyed it, but you must be exhausted after a year. How many events do you feel you've attended in all?
Well, I think we've probably attended something like about 300 events, but every one of them has been so different. and varied, and each one of them is so impactful in terms of what you know and hear of the life of Swansea. I must admit that sometimes when you read the media coverage of things, you get the impression that everything is awful, everything's terrible. But when you have the opportunity, as we have, of going around and seeing the voluntary organisations and the work that people are doing, the respect that they have for the office of the Lord Mayor, you do realise that there's much more in Swansea which has many benefits rather than those which would be sort of seen as being negatives. It's a wonderful place. It's a wonderful environment, and particularly on a day like today when it's incredibly sunny, where could you want to be other than in Swansea?
And of course, 20 years ago, we used to fall behind Cardiff and try to catch up and compare. But now it's completely different, isn't it? We contrast.
Exactly, and we complement, I think, is probably a better phrase, because in terms of our natural environment, there's much that we have to offer, and some of the developments that have been taking place are obviously seeking to add to the offer that Swansea has to incoming tourists, and Cardiff has its role, and we're able to see that together, as a country we're fairly small, aren't we? 3 million people, and it's important for us, I think, to be able to see that we have our own strengths, and we're able to play to those strengths, and Swansea has significant strengths, I believe.
Yeah, and what you were saying earlier about the voluntary sector, people just don't realise how many organisations there are, do they?
No, I mean, it's difficult to kind of add it all up in terms of the total number of voluntary organisations, but it's been estimated that 50% of the population of Swansea is involved in some voluntary activity or another. And, from our perspective, that demonstrates the heart that people have, the desire to be supportive, the desire to help other people, the desire to see people move on and to be able to develop in whatever it is, sporting wise, or in terms of educationally, or in different spheres as well.
Yeah, I totally agree. We've now been going out and seeing many of these organisations and filming and talking to them, and there is a very wide range. Now, you've been doing this now, your year is almost up.
Yes.
So then there is like a ceremony where the new mayor takes over.
That's right, yes.
And when is that? That's just in a couple of weeks away, isn't it?
So yes, actually, it's on the 15th of May, this coming Friday, when the new incoming Lord Mayor is inaugurated, and that we have the opportunity of sharing a little bit about our year of office. But it's great to have that opportunity of handing on that continuity, and it's the office which is important rather than the person, I believe.
Great gosh, time has moved very quickly, hasn't it?
It has. I don't know whether it's a function of our age, Mike, but I do think that it's been incredibly it's been incredibly busy, but incredibly rewarding as well for us personally. And I think that's one of the things that we'll take away from this opportunity, is that it's been as much of a benefit and a blessing to us as hopefully we've been to other people.
So we've talked about the role of mayor, and we're sitting in this fantastic building here, which is a big secret really as far as many people are concerned, but it is the jewel in the crown, isn't it? Tell us about Mansion House.
Yeah, so the Mansion House was actually built by a local builder's family going back into the 1860s. Evan Matthew Richards and his father was the builder, built this for his family home. And it's incredible to think now these days of having a property this large, and obviously in those days they had a welter of servants who were able to keep things going along. But he was the Mayor of Swansea on two occasions, in 1855 and 1862. And when it was built, it was named Brooklands. And in fact, it stayed within the family or other families until 1922. The council, Swansea Council at the time, decided to purchase it for their mansion house. So even though Evan Matthew Richards was mayor, it was never intended by him to be a mansion house. It was only later that became the situation. And as you say, it's in a wonderful location in Ffynone. This area was very, very wealthy and the home to many of the wealthy individuals who made Swansea, in a sense, what it is. And it does reflect the wealth and glory, I suppose, of that time.
Now, judges used to be accommodated here, and the mayor had to move out, is that right?
The tradition was that the mayor took up residence here, and the expectation was that the mayor was in residence. But as you say, whenever there were High Court judges coming to judge important cases, the mayor had to find alternative accommodation, shall we say, to enable the judge to make use of the space. And also, I've heard from other people about the fact that it was a place which is fairly secure. So they did have police officers on guard here while judges were in residence. So it's, in a sense, it's kind of a double-edged sword in that it isn't sort of out in the public view. It's difficult for people maybe to find it, but also at the same time, for those situations, it was obviously a benefit in being able to be more secure for the judges who might be involved in very difficult and long cases.
And things have moved on now, of course. The mayor always used to live here, but now I don't think this hasn't been your residence.
No, the option is there for whoever is taking up the role of Lord Mayor to move in and accept this as their official residence for the year. My wife and I decided that we didn't want to do that. And we've been able to use it, however, and to stay here, particularly with the grandchildren. And the story is last summer that when we came up with the grandchildren coming up here and them playing hide and seek, I did suggest to them that maybe sort of we'd come back 2 days later, but anyway, they really enjoyed it. And my 8-year-old granddaughter said, "Grandpa, can we go up to the castle again?" so see it as a kind of a very important feature of the life of Swansea. And it's been a pleasure for us to be able to invite many people up here for afternoon teas and other events, ranging from things like, for example, a number of Ukrainian mothers and children who have been relocated to Swansea as they left their own home, being able to invite them up here and to give them a lovely afternoon, through to an official dinner for the Queen's Dragoon Guards, who were exercising their right to the freedom of the city by marching through the city. So it was lovely to be able to have those kind of different engagements which illustrate the way in which we were able to use this particular facility, because I think it's important to say, Mike, at the end of the day, this is a facility for the City and County of Swansea. As Lord Mayor, it's been wonderful, as I said, to have experienced all these different organisations and individuals. And it brings me back to something which is in this wonderful pendant that was given to the city in 1875, which is the motto of Swansea: Floreat Swansea, let Swansea flourish, or may Swansea prosper or thrive. And that's what was the aspiration was in 1875 when this was given. And it's aspiration of every mayor and Lord Mayor since, that we want to see Swansea doing well economically, socially, spiritually, culturally, educationally, in all sorts of fields. And so it's been a wonderful opportunity to hold that banner up for Swansea to say, this is the motto of Swansea, Floreat Swansea. And I'm hoping and praying that that will be the case in years to come too.
That's great. I really appreciate your time you've given us today. And we are sitting in this beautiful building,
yes,
which so few people have seen. Can we walk around? Can you show us the building? That would be absolutely fantastic.
Yeah. Okay.
Let's have a look, Mike.
Yeah. So as we come into the house, it's the lounge which we first encounter. And when you look around, you can see the space that's available for us to entertain guests and show hospitality. Many of the gifts that you see on the around the room are given by guests and visitors in the past, and obviously make up part of the history of Swansea in terms of the visitors that we've had, but also the contacts. So, for example, the item that's on the grand piano, that model was given to us by the Queen's Dragoon Guards who visited here and presented us with that as a memorial of their visit to us. And when we go through into the dining room, we can see again around the walls a number of the paintings which have come to us from the Glyn Art Gallery. And again, looking at the history of Swansea with the Eisteddfod that were sold here going back many years. I wasn't around at the time, Mike.
This is once again a wonderful setting for an Eisteddfod, isn't it?
It is, yeah. And again, we've you know, as you can see, you can use the room in different ways. We've had afternoon teas here where we can accommodate larger groups, but we're preparing for a dinner tomorrow evening with a smaller number of guests, with more of an official and a formal dinner.
Mm-hmm. And this is Italian marble?
It is, I understand, and part of the original building of the house. And as we move through into the hallway, we'll be able to see the original tiles on the floor and the wonderful stained glass window, which is still in place. Into the hallway, we can see the original flooring and the paintings again down the outside of the corridor, being from the collection at Glyn. And one that I've mentioned earlier on, Evan Matthew Richards, he's the builder of this particular house, so we've got a portrait of him here as well. In addition to the hallway and the flooring that we have a wonderful demonstration, an illustration of the fine craftsmanship that existed many years ago, the stained glass window, which still has the initials of the family embedded into it. So that's the original one going back to the 1860s. So it's you feel the history that there is. But I think the important thing as well is that it also gives us that idea that they were building for the future, and as we are in Swansea, we're building for the future too.
And this is an original mahogany.
It is, yes, and you know, great to be able to demonstrate the craftsmanship that was in existence in those days. So yes, and the entranceway, and once upon a time, we used to have a housekeeper permanently here and being able to welcome people. Things have changed a little, moved on a little bit.
Yes,
but I'd like to show you as well the billiard room, if I may. It's no longer a billiard room in the sense that there's no billiard table in there, but it's an important feature of the house. So, as I mentioned, this is still known as the billiard room, and you can see how a billiard table would have fitted nicely into the middle here. It's used by the corporate management team and cabinet for their meetings, and is a very useful space. But the important thing that I wanted to highlight for you is the caricatures around the wall of my predecessors, previous mayors and Lord Mayors. So some of whom you might recognise. Some people are still around. Unfortunately, a number of them have passed away. But you get sort of characters. There's one here, for example, Howard Morgan, who's still around, and the caricaturist managed to pick out the important parts of features of those different mayors and Lord Mayors. And before you ask, Mike, there's not going to be one of me.
Really?
No, because several years ago they decided that they weren't going to continue with them. So the last one, I think, was maybe about 8 years ago. And as you can see, we've run out of space in the wall.
There is a spot there.
There is a spot there.
It's got Councillor Mike Day written up.
I don't know about that. I think I'd be really frightened about what features the caricaturist would pick out. But so this is again part of what was the family home. And somebody told me the other day actually that you can see the two hooks up on the beam there. That actually that was the family when the weather was wet. They would come in here and put a swing attached to that, so that the young children would be able to have some sort of physical activity with the swing. So whether that's true or not, I don't know, but that's the story that I've been told.
Well,
but,
that's absolutely wonderful, and I really appreciate you taking us around like this.
Well, it's been really good to welcome you here, and as I mentioned, it's the home which is available. It's the City and County of Swansea, which is the owner, and as Lord Mayor, I've had the privilege of being able to use this for entertaining people, but it is something which I hope that people in future will have the opportunity of coming to see.
Thank you so much, Lord Mayor. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Mike.